What's up, everybody? I think you know what time it is. It's time for another walk and another video. Now, this is going to be discussing about something that's been an interest and a passion for me for many years, and that being music. Now, for those of you who don't know, I am a big music head. You know, I listen to all different types of stuff. Mainly, some of the genres of music that I listen to would be old school hip hop, R&B and soul, reggae, rock music, metal, some country bluegrass, some electronica, some world music. I basically will listen to anything as long as it is the good stuff. You know, and I cannot go ahead and live a day, honestly, without music. I gotta listen to music while I'm driving. I gotta listen to music while I'm working out. And music for me, in a way, is a form of relaxation and inspiration, also like a drug. I was like, no, it's the same for a lot of you people. But in my honest opinion, I cannot stand any of the music that's popular nowadays on the radio. You know, I tend to gravitate towards older music. See, I believe that music within the past 15 years or so, especially when it comes to the radio and the mainstream, as far as MTV, BET, and Fuse, and all these top 40 radio stations, is absolute, most part, garbage. Fucking trash. I just cannot stand watching any of this stuff on MTV and all these other main channels, or listening to what's popular on the radio for no more than 15 or 20 seconds. You know, the thing I have problems with music nowadays is that for the most part, especially when it comes to radio, it is not real art. It is a product that's made to be sold to the ignorant masses. See, back in the days, if you were going to be a successful music artist, you had to perfect your craft. See, back then, if you were going to go ahead and make a name for yourself, you would have to go ahead and perform a lot of shows, and you would have to go ahead and keep constantly perfecting your skills as a musician or skills in the band. Like, say, for example, one of my favorite artists that I've grown up listening to was James Brown, who's considered to be the godfather of soul and probably the most influential and important black music artist in history. See, he was considered to be the hardest working man in show business. When he was starting out with his band called the Famous Flames back in the 50s, they would do most of the year performing shows just to make a name for themselves. And when James Brown took more so control of the band, he was very, very strict on making sure everyone in the band is on point and on tune and is solid. And that has helped him out becoming one of the most notable and well-respected artists of all time. And his music has laid down a foundation for later genres, such as hip-hop, such as modern pop and R&B, and electronic music, given that a lot of these genres of music sample or use a lot of his techniques of what he was using in his music beforehand. But nowadays, it seems as though everyone has run out of ideas, and everyone's just copying one another and doing the same thing over and over and over again. And like, say, for example, for me, my main genre of music that I enjoy listening to is old school hip hop. Mainly from about mid-80s up until the mid-2000s. Starting around the time which Run DMC and the Beastie Boys, LL Cool J were coming about. Right until, when Kanye West was coming out. Around the mid-2000s, that era. But after that era, I can remember listening to the radio and just hearing all this shit. See, for my generation, which was like more the later part of the 2000s decade to the early part of the 2010s, the main artists that were considered to be popular were guys such as Lil Wayne, Nicki Minaj, and Drake. But when I listen to these so-called artists, I can't stand their garbage music. Lil Wayne at the time, I thought, made some of the most retarded songs I've ever heard, not just in hip-hop, but in music, period. And when she raps like he has Down syndrome or he has drank too much lean, and he just raps completely out of his ass a bunch of nonsense that may rhyme, but his lyrics don't make any fucking sense. Like, dear flow never wet, like grandma's pussy. Me, I'm always good, like grandma's cookies. I thought, what the fuck kind of bullshit is this? And kids were eating him up like he was the number one artist in the world. And Nicki Minaj, I never really liked her either. Because she's fake. I mean, her image is fake, and even her body's fake. I've always said this before. Why does Nicki Minaj call herself Barbie? Because she's made out of plastic. And she's another plastic artist. And all she basically has talked about in her songs is just pussy, ass, and titties. And when you look at her image, she's basically a cheap knockoff of what Lil' Kim, who's a more respectable female rapper who started the whole sex thing with female rappers back in the late 90s with Junior Mafia, and when she was starting her solo career, originated. And then with Drake, the problem I have with Drake is that, Drake to me, he's not a real hip-hop artist. I give him respect that he has had a long extended career, but he's not a real artist. I mean, he has a lot of his songs written for him, and he doesn't do a lot of the work from his music. He's basically just a face for the music that he and his team being mostly responsible for making his music release. To me, he's more of a pretty boy pop star that mainly appeals to naive teenage girls. So when I was looking at all this music that was coming out at the time when I was in high school, I was disgusted. I was really, really displeased by a lot of the new music. And I just thought, I don't identify with any of this stuff in the music of my generation and of popular culture, as far as fashion or TV shows or whatever. But especially with music. And I can recall, around that time, I wanted something that was refreshing, that had more substance and also just had more beefiness and balls to it. And then I started getting into artists like Eminem. Eminem was the very first hip-hop artist and very first artist, period, that I really, really enjoyed. But mainly, I liked him for his early career with the late 90s and early 2000s Eminem. And then I started getting into other artists around his generation, like DMX, or Jay-Z, or Nas, or Tupac, and Biggie. And then just going on from there, with understanding the thorough history and the quality music of the history of hip-hop. And then from then on, I was looking into the linear notes of the CDs that I was buying from these artists and discovering all this new music from the old school R&B, funk and soul, and even rock music or electronic music and so forth that these guys were sampling. I found all this great stuff going from there. And then I eventually started discovering other music outside of that. I was discovering classic rock. I was discovering heavy metal. I was into metal for a while. Extreme metal like death metal, black metal, and grindcore, which I still listen to occasionally. But it's not the main thing I like. And I would also dig into my dad's CD collection and discover what he was listening to. And going back to the stuff that I remember listening to as a kid, such as some of the earliest artists that I enjoyed listening to, that I was exposed to growing up, were guys like Bob Marley, James Brown, Prince, and Miles Davis. 4 legends within not just black music, but music period. And the problem with music nowadays is that there's nothing that matches the magic of that era. You know, I think part of the reason why is because the taste of this generation is so degraded. It is so dumbed down that all it is just a few lyrics and a bunch of catchy hooks and the regular major scale or whatever that they have in most pop songs. And to me, the stuff that's on the radio is a musical equivalent of fast food. It's like food from McDonald's. When you get yourself a Big Mac, it's not something that has really any heart and soul or substance to it. It's just a prepackaged product that has been made in a factory and just overly processed and then reheated to be sold to the ignorant masses that don't have very much quality taste to them. And for me, I don't care for that stuff. I'm thankful that when I was growing up, I didn't listen to the radio. My dad never listened to the radio. We were listening to his own music, which planted a seed for me to appreciate quality music. And eventually having to go out and search for it myself rather than being told what I should be listening to. And see, that's the thing with popular music and our culture, is that a lot of people are listening to the stuff that's on the radio because it's what everyone else is doing. Because, oh, this is the latest and greatest guy. He's so great. This is what all the kids are listening to, and you should be listening to it too. And it's just, we have been brainwashed ever since we were kids, for a lot of us, to listen to whatever the radio tells us to listen to. Because when the record labels are doing that, they are using their artists, which are products that are made to be sold to the masses, like a Big Mac from McDonald's or a bag of Lay's potato chips, like Chuck D explained, in which the record label execs don't care about the art behind the music. They're business people. They see a song as a bag of Lay's potato chips. They use their products, their artists. Like what we have nowadays. We got Migos, we still have Drake, and we have all these dumbass mumble rappers. We have Taylor Swift, and among others. I mean, I don't really care. I'm not really into listening to the radio now at this point. But they sell this stuff to the masses, and they tell us to listen to this as a means to go ahead and make millions of dollars off of the stupid masses. You know? And the masses are so dumbed down with their musical tastes that they'll just like anything that sounds catchy and has a nice melody to it. I can remember one time, this is a funny story. This is a real funny story. I used to work at this restaurant called the Yard House. And one night I remember, see, the executive chef who worked there, I'm not going to say his name, but I'll tell you what happened. I started to become friendly with him, and I realized we liked listening to the same stuff. He said that he liked listening to Biggie, Big Pun, Tupac, and Nas, just like I did. And then one night when I was working there, when he was cooking, I heard him say, Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang. And I said, man, don't say that faggot shit. And he said, what? I told you not to say those kind of words again. What did I tell you? And I said, hey, I'm just joking around. What's the big deal? Go clock out and go home. And I thought I was seriously going to get fired after that, because I got myself in trouble a few times beforehand for saying bad words at work out of frustration, because of when we got busy, I got pretty frustrated and I was venting using bad words. And I said I wouldn't do it, But I was just being a smartass with my boss, saying, Why the fuck are you rapping that retarded bullshit by Lil Pump when you say you like old school hip hop?" So I said that. He told me to go home. I wasn't working for the next few days. I signed an explanation about what happened and being written down and approved. And I was given a write-up. And when I was getting a write-up, my boss said, "You don't have to like the same stuff as I do, but I like the song because it's catchy." And he asked me, "Do you like something because it's catchy?" And I said, "No." And that's just the thing. A lot of people just like music because it's catchy. Like Frank Zappa, who was a legendary alternative and experimental rock artist, said, most people wouldn't know what good music is, even if it bit him straight up the ass. And here's another thing, is that art is not just made to be entertainment. Real quality art, music or paintings or writing, poetry, I believe is something that you can get substance out of. It teaches you something. You can read a great book. You can listen to a great song by a great artist. You can look at a painting by a great artist. And in a way, the greats have made art not just to please people, but to express their feelings and ideas to help enlighten others. But I think the reason why most music is stupid and a lot of music sucks is because most people don't live to be enlightened. Most people don't live to, how can I put it, enhance their perspective on life. They're just living to not be bored and to be entertained. And that's why most popular music caters to that. And it's just like what this old school rapper named Cool G Rap said in this old interview that he did with Vlad TV a few years ago. He said, "People will only be entertained to the limit of their intellect." It makes sense. Why is it a lot of music is stupid? Because there's a lot of stupid people out there. Why isn't there a lot of creative and intelligent music? Because there's not too many people who are intelligent that appreciate creativity and substance. So my message to everyone else, if you like listening to the radio and you're offended by what I'm saying, look, I'm going to put it to you this way, is that, you've been told for most of your life to listen to something and do things because someone else told you to do it. But think about it like this. Am I doing this because I actually like it? Or am I doing it because I'm told to like it? So you got to think for yourself. That's one of my main things in life, because bullshit is everywhere. And there's a lot of bullshit in music. And we're told to like this bullshit music because it makes these big record labels like Atlantic or Interscope or Elektra. I don't know if Elektra's around, but all these mainstream record labels, millions of dollars or billions of dollars in money by selling us this bullshit. Just like food at McDonald's, for the most part, in my opinion, is bullshit. But a lot of people, billions of people buy it because they've been programmed to like it ever since they were kids. So my thing is this, is that don't just let society, don't let the mainstream popular culture tell you what to like and what to do. Think for yourself. Next time when you listen to an artist, see if you're actually getting something out of it. What is this doing for me to help me out in life? Because a lot of this dumbass music isn't not going to help you out with anything. You know, I can listen to another one of my favorite artists, such as Tupac, because although he had a bit of a mainstream appeal, his music had a lot of his heart and soul in it. And I can listen to his music when I'm going through great times in my life, and also when I'm going through some really rough and sad times in my life. And his music had a very powerful and extensive range of inspiration and appeal to millions of people around the world. And that's why he's considered to be among the greatest hip-hop artists and the greatest artist period of all time. And it's like one of the things that I remember that he did this interview when he was in jail for that sexual abuse case. One of the things he said in the interview was, don't support the phonies, support the real. How can these people say that they're so real when they don't even care about our communities? Next time you listen to something, hear what they're actually saying. Don't just bob your head to the beat. Listen to what they're saying and tell me if that shit is real. Just something I thought I would say for a while. Because I can listen to a lot of this. I can listen to a lot of my music that I enjoy, and I can say, man, this is 54. This is like 10, 20, 30, 40, or 50 years old, and it's still better than what we have nowadays. It's like, so what I can say is support the real, not the fakes. Peace out, everybody.